All right, so today we are reviewing the quadratic formula. Obviously, yesterday we reviewed the completing the square method. So the quadratic formula is right here, okay? That is the formula. Remember, not only do you want to have the formula written down, but you also want to have what each variable represents. So A is the x squared term coefficient, B is the x term coefficient, and C stands for constant. So that's the first important thing you want to know. The next thing is what it says in the parentheses here, and that the equation has to be set equal to zero. You cannot use the quadratic formula until it's set equal to zero. So with that in mind, let's look at these two examples here, starting with number 1, x squared plus 4x minus 5 equals 0. The first thing that I always do when I'm using the quadratic formula is I always identify what my variables are. So again, remember, A goes with the x squared term. So in this case, A is going to be equal to 1 because there's an imaginary 1 right here. Okay. B is the coefficient of the x term. In this case, that's going to be 4. And C is the constant term. In this case, that's going to be negative 5. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the formula, and I'm literally going to plug in 1 for A, 4 for B, negative 5 for C. So let's do that. So x equals negative B plus and minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C divided by 2 times A. Okay. So let's start simplifying. So that's going to be negative 4 plus and minus. So let's look under the square root. 4 squared, that's going to be 16. And then after that, we have negative 4 times 1 times negative 5. So negative 4 times 1 times negative 5. So negative 4 times 1 is negative 4, times negative 5 is a positive 20. Hence, that changes to plus. Okay, divided by 2 times 1, which is 2. All right, I'll continue that up here. So negative 4 plus and minus 16 plus 20. Okay, that is 36. So that becomes the square root of 36 divided by 2. And hopefully we realize that the square root of 36 is 6. So that gives me negative 4 plus and minus 6 over 2. And now it's just a matter of calculating that. So let's calculate it with plus and calculate it with minus. So negative 4 plus 6 is 2 divided by 2 is 1. So that's one of your answers. Negative 4 minus 6. Negative 4 minus 6 is negative 10 divided by 2. Negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. So my two solutions are x equals 1 and x equals negative 5. Let's move along. Whoops. Let's move along to number 2. So number 2 is 3x squared minus 10x minus 8 equals 0. All right, so in this case, all right, A again goes with the x squared term, so A is going to be 3. Okay, b, the coefficient of the x term, b is going to be negative 10. And c, the constant term, that's going to be negative 8. And once again, we're going to plug those numbers into the formula. So x equals negative b plus and minus, make that longer, the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2 times a. All right, so I went ahead and made those substitutions. All right, so let's start simplifying. Up here, okay, b, remember the formula is negative b. Well, if b is already negative, like it is here, then negative 10, negative 10, that's a double negative, so that makes it a positive 10. Plus minus, let's look under the square root, so negative 10 squared, that's negative 10 times negative 10, that's going to be positive 100. And then after that, we have negative 4 times 3 times negative 8. I am simply going to use a calculator. So negative 4 times 3 is negative 12 times negative 8 is going to be a positive 96. Okay, over 2 times 3, which is 6. All right, so let's continue up here. So we have 10 plus and minus the square root. 100 plus 96 is going to be 196 divided by 6. Okay, and you could use a calculator for this, but the square root of 96, or excuse me, the square root of 196 is actually 14. So this becomes 10 plus and minus 14 divided by 6. And I'm just going to go right ahead and calculate those answers. So 10 plus 14 is 24, divided by 6 is 4. 10 minus 14 is negative 4, and negative 4 divided by 6 is actually going to be a decimal. Okay? Negative 4 divided by 6 is going to be a decimal. So I am going to leave that as a fraction. I'm going to leave it as negative 4/6. And hopefully we realize that negative 4/6 can actually be reduced. Negative 4/6 can actually reduce to negative 2/3. So our answer, our two solutions are x equals 4 and x equals negative 2/3. Okay, so in the case like this where your answer is a decimal, I will leave it as a fraction. In this case, 10 minus 14 was negative 4, and I knew that negative 4 divided by 6 would end up being a decimal, hence negative 2/3. Your cool down today will be 2 problems, just like the ones that I did. So if you paid attention to the examples, you should be able to do the cool down problems.